Coming up in the next 30 minutes, the gay marriage issue makes its way to the steps of City Hall. We'll find out what makes NYU the most popular university in the country, and we'll get an inside scoop on the hottest sports team on campus in our live interview with WNYU sportscaster Erin Goldhammer. These stories and more coming up on NYU Tonight. Good evening, it's Thursday, March 4th, 2004, and welcome to this week's edition of NYU Tonight. I'm Charles Wade.
And I'm Adriana Prado.
Protesters gathered in front of City Hall today after the issuing of marriage licenses to same-sex couples was halted this morning. The protest comes after dozens of same-sex couples lined up outside the city clerk's office this morning for marriage licenses, but were turned away. They were given a letter explaining that gay marriages are illegal in New York State. On Wednesday, New York State Attorney General Eliot Spitzer issued a statement saying current state law prohibits same-sex weddings. Mayor Bloomberg has vowed to enforce the law. Both sides of the issue had been waiting on Spitzer's opinion since last Friday when Mayor Jason West of New Paltz, New York, married 25 same-sex couples. West now faces 19 criminal counts and could face jail time. More attacks in Iraq today. A police precinct in central Mosul was bombed, injuring at least 3 people. Officers at the precinct say the attackers also fired on the street and at a mosque next door before getting away. And a rocket attack near a telephone exchange killed 3 people on Thursday night in Baghdad. The attack came a day after guerrillas rocketed another telephone exchange in the capital, killing 1 person and stopping international phone service for much of Iraq. The attack left 2 others injured. They were taken to the hospital.
Malaysian Prime Minister Abdullah Ahmad Badawi denied his government's covered up an investigation of the country's role in a worldwide nuclear black market. A company owned by Abdullah's son faces allegations of trafficking nuclear technology to Libya, Iran, and North Korea. The Prime Minister isn't worried that the issue will hurt him in the upcoming elections, but the Islamic opposition in Malaysia promised to focus on it during their campaign. President Bush's re-election campaign is under criticism after the release of 2 commercials using images of the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. The 30-second ads in English and Spanish show the wreckage at the World Trade Center, including an American flag flying amid the debris and firefighter working through the rubble. The Bush camp defended the commercials, saying they are appropriate for an election about public policy and the war on terror. But some families of the victims have spoken out against Bush for airing the spots, which they say are offensive. Along with the 9/11 attacks, the commercial lists a series of challenges the country has faced since the president took office. Among those highlighted are the economic recession, the stock market decline, and the end of the dot-com boom. President Bush's re-election campaign has cost at least $4.5 million in advertising time. The ads were produced before Senator John Kerry's win in the Super Tuesday contests. They did not mention Kerry by name, but instead focus on improving President Bush's image in response to criticism from Democrats in recent months. Although Bush's initial ads were positive, campaign sources say they have not ruled out using negative ads against Kerry in the future. Now that the race for the Democratic nomination is effectively over, John Kerry is making an aggressive transition to his battle with George W. Bush. Tomorrow he kicks off a swing through the South. Kerry hopes to demonstrate that a Democrat can be competitive below the Mason-Dixon line, while also maintaining as much media focus as he can. Fundraising will also be a top priority. Right now he's the $100 million underdog in the money race, a gap the campaign hopes to close with the help of Hollywood fundraisers and Democratic-leaning business moguls. As for Bush, he arrived in California today to raise money and talk up his stewardship of the economy. A new Associated Press poll shows Bush leading Kerry by 1 point, with Ralph Nader receiving 6% of the vote.
A major shakeup yesterday at Disney as CEO Michael Eisner lost control of the board he led for almost 20 years. The company's shareholders withheld almost half of its votes for Eisner's re-election bid, and this forced Disney to make the move.
The board decided that this movement in America to separate the non-executive chairman and the CEO was something that we should have been considering in getting our company into contemporary governance, and we did it today. We heard our shareholders who seemed to be interested in that, and so we went ahead and did it.
Eisner will stay on as CEO, but former U.S. Senator George Mitchell will take over as chairman. The Oscars were on Sunday, and with so much talk of acting, ability, and talent, Cherish Duke decided to look at how an NYU actor plans to make his mark on Academy history.
Specifically remember what coming to NYU when they said to us, to me and my parents, every student who graduates NYU basically will be guaranteed a job except the Tisch students.
Careers in the arts are never easy to come by. And with graduation around the corner, senior acting major Blake Young Fountain realizes just how difficult the job hunt will be.
It's going to be incredibly hard. My biggest challenge is going to be actually getting a role. Walking into a room, having 2 minutes to basically sell myself to whoever, letting them know that, hey, I'm an actor, I can do this. There it is.
But acting is harder than it seems and requires learning and preparation.
From the DA's office, right? Nice to meet you. I feel like the studios I've been in have been helping me prepare myself, especially the studio of Stone Street that I'm in now, only because they're giving me insight to what's going on in the business.
If acting is a business, then like any job, to get the big contracts, you gotta make the contacts.
The best way for Blake Young Fountain, myself, to prepare to be in this business is just to go out there and be seen and just show people like who I am. Send out my resume, send out my headshot, and go and audition.
Yet auditions don't pay the bills, and actors gotta eat.
I probably will have to get a J-O-B, which is waiting tables somewhere. Some job that's not acting.
While waiting tables and auditioning may seem like an unreliable career choice to some, Tisch seniors find that a life of uncertainty isn't so bad.
I'm happy about graduating, so I'm out of school.
This summer, I'm probably going to go out to California and work with a director that I met. It's kind of exciting.
As an actor, you get to dip into all these roles and careers that you can be play all these different parts, and then go back to your regular life. It gives you flexibility to do a lot of things.
With a double major in journalism, Blake believes that being flexible and doing other things is important, not just for an actor's career, but for his sanity.
My advice, and something that I pat myself on the back for, is I went out and sought other things that I was interested in than acting, you know? As much as it's been my dream and it's my passion to be an actor, there's more to life, Blake, than acting.
Whether it's a life of glitz and glam on the screen, or simply getting by in off-Broadway theaters, Blake plans to keep his career all smiles. For NYU Tonight, I'm Cherish Duke.
With festivals, formals, and faculty awards, here is Myra Zuleta with NYU Focus. Myra?
Thanks, Charles. Sofia Coppola isn't the only woman filmmaker worthy of an award. Today, a group of NYU students and alumni from Tisch School of the Arts are launching Fusion, the first annual student film festival celebrating female filmmakers. Cinematographers from movies like Master and Commander and Blow will be participating in the event. The festival will run through March 6th in the Cantor Film Center. The co-founders hope Fusion will encourage other young women to step up to the viewfinder and start rolling. If the words thank you aren't enough, the Human Resource Division is offering a new way to show your appreciation to members of the NYU community and the general public. The Give a Violet program gives students, faculty, and staff opportunities to show their gratitude for someone who has gone out of their way serving others. To nominate that special someone, log on to www.nyu.edu/HR or pick up an application at the Information Center or at any residence hall. The nomination deadline is March 15th. Well, NYU has another record to add to its books. Here with more on that story is Linda Katzman.
The sounds, 24-hour diners, a Starbucks on every corner, and right in the middle of it all, you've got NYU. This year, the university received nearly 34,000 applications, a 2% increase from last year. That's the most of any private university. Associate Provost for Admissions and Financial Aid, Barbara Hall, credits this influx to NYU's IT status.
Overall, we're riding a wave right now. You know, NYU is hot. We just got a new survey that puts NYU as the most popular school in the United States. And when you have that, you have lots of applicants.
So why NYU? Students responding to a Princeton Review survey say the city is one of the school's main attractions.
I'm used to more suburban cities. I want to go to a college where it's more exciting, and I want to get every type of person.
This year, NYU will be adding almost 4,000 new students to the city's melting pot, making it one of the most selective universities in the country. That means students have not only made the grade, but have played active roles in their community. And at NYU, that doesn't have to end. Students can get a taste of theater, museums, and ethnic diversity.
You have the opportunity of doing internships. You have basically everything you could ever want at your fingertips if you're willing to go out there and find it.
And after 4 years, NYU students will leave with an extra step up for the job market.
I think putting NYU on a resume right now, regardless of your major, is positive because it shows people you can cope. You can get along in a big city.
But for the 34,000 applicants, they first have to get that acceptance letter. For NYU Tonight, I'm Linda Katzman.
Take a break from midterms and dance your night away this Friday at the annual CAS Spring Formal. Enjoy dinner and drinks with friends at the 205th Club at 9 p.m. Tickets cost $20 and are still available at Ticket Central. Not in CAS? Don't worry, you can still join us for $5 more. That's this week's Focus on NYU. I'm Myra Zuleta.
The NYPD busted a huge cocaine smuggling ring after a 14-month investigation. Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly announced the arrest of 13 people involved, including baggage handlers from Kennedy Airport. Detectives say the coke was sent from Guyana to the U.S. and stored in Brooklyn and other locations. It looks like the Martha Stewart case may finally be seeing its end. The woman who made baking and homemaking a renewed trend is now a sitting duck when it comes to her fate. Jurors have been asked to reevaluate this testimony from her former broker, Peter Bukanovic, and his ex-assistant, Douglas Fanuel. The case was handed to the jurors yesterday.
The Labor Department announced today that the number of people filing new applications for unemployment benefits dropped last week by 7,000. The decline was higher than forecasted, bringing the jobless claim rate to the lowest level in 2 weeks. Some analysts say the decline in unemployment claims is a sign that companies may be feeling better about the economy and less likely to lay off workers. Even if companies have reduced their layoff numbers, they haven't rushed to hire workers back. A new Federal Reserve survey of business conditions around the country reported that unemployment was growing slowly in most areas. However, Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan says he's optimistic that job growth will speed up. Stocks were mixed today. Here's where they stood at today's closing bell.
Being a college student can be very expensive, and some find creative ways to help pay for some of the cost. Reporter James Nubel takes a look at why one NYU student would give you the shirt off his back for a price.
Lee Fu isn't packing to go home. He's sorting through an inventory of sports jerseys that he sells to make money. But he's not a store owner. Thanks to the internet, he runs his business right from his room at the 3rd North Dormitory.
I prefer eBay. It's easy, it's fast, and you're guaranteed a buyer.
And eBay guarantees his business does well. He uses the popular website's auction system that lets consumers bid on wanted items. and each jersey can sell for about $100. But where does Fu get the jerseys?
About 2-3 times a year, I have to go back to Asia to do some supplier sourcing. And there, you know, they show me new samples, show me what they have, and I inspect the quality. And I buy what I like, and they ship it to me.
He buys them for $20 each, making a nice profit as long as they sell. That's a business decision he thinks he has under control.
Being in New York, that's the advantage. You kind of see the trends, you know what's going on in the sports world, on the streets, what people are wearing, so you know what's popular and what's not.
For NYU Tonight, this is James Noble.
Have midterms been keeping you from the wide world of sports? To make sure you're up to date on all the latest scores, trades, and drama, here's Jennelle Menendez with all of your sports news. Jennelle?
Thanks, Charles. Baseball's commissioner wants everyone to shut up about shooting up. Bud Selig ordered 30 teams not to comment on the Balco case or performance-enhancing drugs. The talk about steroids had swept spring training, with everyone speculating on which players may have used them. Earlier this week, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that six-time MVP Barry Bonds was given the illegal substances by his personal trainer. The newspaper also implicates New York Yankees Jason Giambi and Gary Sheffield. Big and bigger. The NBA's top two centers, Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal, faced off yesterday. Shaq was off to a good start with this rim rock and slam off the feed from Kobe, and O'Neal finished the night with 28 points. But Yao brought his A-game as well, nailing a dunk of his own and scoring 33 points for the Rockets. Even though for most of the game it was a battle of the big men, it was Kobe Bryant who calmly made the go-ahead jumper with 32 seconds left to play. The shot sealed the 96-93 win for the Lakers. And the Baltimore Ravens have acquired wide receiver Terrell Owens from the San Francisco 49ers for a second-round draft pick. The Ravens will pick up the final 3 years of the Pro Bowler's contract, valued at $17 million. One New York Rangers player will no longer be calling the Big Apple home. After 17 years, Rangers star defenseman Brian Leetch has been traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Leetch started his NHL career in 1988 and has played for the Rangers since the very beginning. General manager Glenn Sather said the decision was one of the toughest he's ever made, but he's happy with the trade. Rangers acquired defenseman Maxim Kondrativ and forward Jarko Immonen. And Pete Rose has finally been inducted into the Hall of Fame. No, not Cooperstown, but the World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Fame. Baseball's all-time hits leader has been banned for life from the game in 1989 and declared ineligible for the Hall of Fame 2 years later. Which brings us to tonight's sports trivia question. Do you know why the Baseball Hall of Fame is located in Cooperstown, New York? Many credit Abner Doubleday with inventing the rules of baseball while in Cooperstown in 1839. And now we go to Joseph Diaz, who's with a very special guest. Joseph?
Thanks. It's no secret that NYU isn't known for its athletics. I'm sure some of you think that we have no sports, but the fact is the university has 19 varsity teams, and surprise, some are really good. This past fall, the women's volleyball team went all the way to the NCAA finals before coming up short against Washington University. In basketball, the Lady Violets are ranked 6th in the country and are geared up for the championship. Here to weigh in on their chances, from WNYU Radio, Aaron Goldhammer.
Thanks for having me, Joseph.
Thank you and welcome. Let's just cut to the chase. How good of a shot do the Violets have in winning the title?
I think they have a really good shot. You know, they're a #1 seed in the East bracket. They had a really good season, a lot of talent. They're one of the few teams in Division III that has a Division I transfer from UNC Wilmington, Rachel Wadowski, on their roster. She's got great experience. The team itself has good experience playing in the UAA and winning that conference. So I'd give them an edge to have a good shot at the title.
Now they're facing Union, and who they've never faced in the history of the school. Who do you think that favors, Union or NYU?
I think it favors NYU in a way. They come, as I mentioned, from a much more competitive conference. Union, however, did play NYU rival, the University of Rochester, early on in the season, a very competitive team, another tournament team, and Union came up but 1 point short in that game. So they got a really talented roster. It's a team NYU should be really concerned with. It's a team that has a chance to beat the Violets, but I'd say on paper, I'd give the edge to NYU.
And for those of you watching, if you want to hear that game, you can go to www.wnyu.org. Now, anyway, the Violets have been used to going to the NCAA tournament before. They won in 1999. Do you think this helps their chances, or the fact that they did so poorly last year hurt them?
They don't have much tournament experience on the team, but Coach Janice Quinn thinks that playing in a tough conference like the UAA gives them the experience that they need to go into this tournament. They don't, only 2 players on the roster have been in the tournament before, but I think the team is ready. I think emotionally they don't have any bad tournament experiences. It's a relatively young team, but I think that should favor them. It's a deep team, and I think, as I mentioned, they got a good shot at winning the title.
Now, the men aren't doing so badly either. They're 20-6, a huge improvement over last year's dismal performance. What do you think made them so much better this year?
Well, they got a great freshman class coming in. Guys like Jason Boone and Michael DeCorso. Jason Boone, one of the few guys in Division III men's basketball who can dunk, and he does dunk regularly. A really good player to watch if you're coming down to Kohl's to check him out. And those 2 freshmen particularly have given them a lift. DeCorso off the bench, and so they got the strong freshman class, a little more experience. Coach Joe Nesci's done a great job with them. This team probably 1 or 2 years away from making a really strong push toward the NCAA tournament.
But the freshmen alone can't be the reason why NYU would have such a huge turnaround. Did any of the veteran players, contribute?
Absolutely. Junior Jeff Gilkerson, the team's leading scorer and leading rebounder, is a great player. Their starting center has great low post moves, and he's been done a great job for them, really stepping up this year from the bench into the starting lineup and contributing for them.
Well, that's great. And of course, they just beat St. John, or rather, they'll be facing St. John's, who they crushed yesterday. Now, of course, their upcoming opponent upset a huge team. Do you think they can do it again?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think NYU has really the edge in the ECAC. As I mentioned, for the women, too. For the men coming out of the UAA, the men playing tough teams all the time, I think they're really ready for this test, and I give NYU the edge.
Now, let's turn to pro sports. The huge thing has been the steroids. They have finally come out. Of course, in the San Francisco Chronicle, they published a report saying that Barry Bonds and Jason Giambi and Gary Sheffield have all been given steroids. What do you think what do you think? Do you think they did it?
It's hard for me to really speculate on whether or not these guys are doing steroids or whether it's, other things that are affecting their bodies, possibly legal supplements or working out. It is technically the training has gotten a lot better over the years as far as people lifting weights and that kind of thing goes. I can't really speculate, on whether or not these guys are actually doing steroids. However, I think there is a culture of steroids in baseball. As studies show that about 5% of the league is doing steroids. But I think it's more the second-tier guys, the guys that are on the cusp of getting big contracts. Those are the guys who really have the drive to need to do steroids so they can come and get the money.
All right, they're giving me that wrap-up signal, but thank you very much for being here. You can catch From the Cheap Seats every Monday and Friday at WNYU. All right, back to you in the studio.
U.S. Marines are now patrolling Haiti, and as a result, violence has lessened, but some of it still persists. Aside from peacekeeping, the Marines' other main objective is to end the drug trafficking in Haiti. Colombian drug cartels use the country as a drop-off point and a distribution center to smuggle drugs into the U.S. A New Jersey jury sentenced Brian Wakefield to death today for killing an elderly couple. The couple was stabbed, beaten, and set on fire during a robbery in their home. After less than a day of deliberations, the jury ordered the execution of the 26-year-old man. He becomes the 14th person of New Jersey's death row, but whether his sentence will ever be carried out is unknown. The state reinstituted the death penalty in 1982, but no one has been executed.
Hundreds of protesters took to the streets in Venezuela today. They are demanding President Hugo Chavez to release more than 360 people who they say were unfairly arrested. Venezuela's UN representative Milos Alcalay announced his resignation today in protest of what he says are human rights violations and threats to democracy at home. The recent unrest is the result of the government denying a vote to recall the current president. New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg, businessman, politician, and now TV star. One celebrity couple gets married while another breaks up. For that and more, here's Ara Cho with tonight's entertainment. Ara?
Thanks. Beyonce Knowles may have played a crime-fighting character in the third Austin Powers movie, but her band members have taken a similar role in real life. 3 members of the singer's band came to the rescue of 91-year-old driver Reynold Colleen after a suspected carjacker tried to drive away outside of a Walgreens store in Palm Beach, Florida.
So then the dude jumped out of the car and he tried to run. Like, hey, let's just chase him and see what happens. So he ran around the corner and we just got in the van and started speeding after him.
They were in town to rehearse with Beyonce for an upcoming tour. Gay celebrities are speaking out in support of same-sex marriages. Former talk show host Rosie O'Donnell married her partner in a ceremony last week in San Francisco. Now the New York Daily News reports musician Elton John is ready to do the same. John said he and his partner are planning to marry when Britain allows same-sex marriages. However, Lionel Richie's marriage is coming to an end, and it looks like it's going to cost him a bundle. Diane Ritchie says she's gotten used to living high on the hog, so she's asking for $300,000 a month in support. That's 7.5 NYU tuitions every single month. Maybe this person can afford to pay that much. Self-made billionaire New York City mayor and actor, Michael Bloomberg is making his acting debut in the long-running drama series Law and Order. The mayor will be playing, of all people, himself. 2 scenes were taped inside the Blue Room in City Hall yesterday. An air date has not yet been scheduled. With your entertainment news, I'm Ara Cho. Back to you, Charles. Thanks, Ara.
The rain today couldn't keep NYU students away. Whether it's devotion or convenience, they just keep coming back. Brooks Hornsby reports.
Coffee, a must for most students. And this morning, even in the rain, many students still lined up at this cart. The cart is strategically located on West 4th Street and Green Street. It sits between Stern Business School and the campus eatery. So why do students come here?
This coffee is cheaper, better. I recommend it.
According to the owners who claim to have been here for 10 years, they help the students, not create competition.
Because we will help the student, we serve the coffee, we give cheap price from a store from Starbucks. No, it's not competition. Yes.
But for some students, it isn't even about the competition. The price difference between the carts and the campus eatery is only 25 cents for a cup of coffee. For some students, it's about the freshness.
And they've been in there probably a week, and they have a lot of preservatives, I imagine.
And some students just use both.
I usually go to a cart, just for the soup. I come to the soup.
But at least today for me, it's all about the campus eatery. For NYU Tonight, I'm Brooks Hornsby.
With 610 calories and 29 grams of fat, supersized fries are soon to become a thing of the past. McDonald's will phase out its supersized option, 7-ounce fries and a 42-ounce drink by the end of the year at all of its 13,000 U.S. McDonald's. McDonald's has come under fire lately for contributing to the high obesity rates.
Well, we'd like to supersize this edition of NYU Tonight.
But unfortunately, our time is up. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.